Good afternoon. Welcome to today's webinar event. My name is Joshua. I'm going to be your presenter today. And what we're talking about is in our new version 2321 here, we have added the ability to associate or attach files and documents to records, people in membership, to accounts in donations, and to accounts and transactions in accounting. And a lot of folks are unaware of this, and I felt that it was an important thing to discuss here. So we hadn't really kind of gone into it in much detail in our other material or training webinars and things before. So we wanted to kind of bring it to folks' attention as to this wonderful new feature that's available in the new version here that users may or may not be aware of. And so if we go into membership, say for example, here, and we go into people, and I'm sorry folks, I don't have a drawing tool here to sort of draw some focus or attention for you, but hopefully you should be able to see it here, is that you notice here across the top we've got Nina's record here, our first person in our membership database, and we've got our individual tabs here on the right, her name tab or individual record tab, groups and classes. See, I'm clicking across these tabs across the top, comments, photo, and then we've got this new tab called Files/Documents, okay? So we now have the ability to add an associated document with a person, okay, for whatever that may be. Maybe it's a health record for a child, or a doctor's note, or, you know what I mean, some medical document or something that you want to associate with somebody's record, birth certificate, or, anything that the church might want to deem as important to associate to a particular individual can be associated with that individual. And if we notice here on the upper left, as we kind of go through these little arrows, again, the family info tab, comments, photos, and again, you can attach files and documents to a family record as well. So it doesn't necessarily have to be about the individual, but each individual can have documents and files attached as well. And so folks, I'm going to go through this here. So right here, we notice it says add a file. Okay, so I click on that, and it now opens up essentially a standard browse window. So if I now go into my thumb drive that I've got here, I do have a folder set up for our files and documents webinar today, and I've just got some test documents here that I've attached. In this case, these are PDF files, but I believe, folks, you can attach virtually any type of file to somebody's record, or to a record, or an account, as the case may be. So I click on the file, you click open, and notice here it now says test file 6 under Nita's individual files and documents tab. Okay, so I do have to click the save button up here at the top, otherwise that will not be saved. But now if I simply go to the next record now and then come back to Nina, now notice it does still have test file 6.pdf on her record. Okay, and we notice, of course, as we do in membership, that any of the tabs that have the bold lettering on them on there, indicating that there's something associated on those files, or on those tabs. So clearly there's a photo for Nina here, and when we see files and documents, it's in bold like that, it's telling us that there's at least one file or document attached to that individual record. And kind of, again, if you steer your focus back left over here to the family record, you see, notice files and documents isn't bold on her family record. So that's telling us that it's only associated with her individual and not with the family. So if I want to come in and extract that, I can now come into her record and click extract selected files, and it says, okay, extract a copy of a file from storage, and it allows me to open up a browse button and maybe choose my desktop, and then I can simply click open file. Okay, so it'll say, how do I want to open this file? I can choose, like, say, Adobe Reader, and click OK. And now it is attempting to open Adobe Reader with that document in there. Folks, I just took some reports out of accounting and just created them there. But the document is there. And if I minimize Church Windows back to my desktop, we notice here in the upper left-hand corner here, well, now I'm moving it center, is my test file 6. Okay, so we're just going to get rid of that off the desktop there and bring Church Windows back up. Okay. If a file needs to be deleted from a person's record, we can simply find them, click on the appropriate Files and Documents tab, click the Delete Selected File, and it says, are you sure you want to delete test file 6 here? And we click yes, and that file is now no longer associated with Nina's record any longer. But I do have to click Save. Notice Save is lit up at the top here in order for the software to know that that file is no longer associated with her record permanently. Okay, so I click Save, and that is now gone from her record. Okay. So similarly, I'm kind of jumping around here, but that's really where that is, folks. And we're going to see that this is not terribly different in other places that you go. So if we go into donations, say, for example, and we go to Manage Givers in the center here, notice at our Manage Givers window, we do have the tab here in the upper right called Files and Documents. So there's Nina again listed first. And so again, hang on folks, there's something I didn't test here and I should have, and I apologize, but I just want to try this and see if my thinking may be correct with regards to this. So if we go to Files and Documents, add a file, choose test file 1 and save it, and then we go out and I go back into donations one more time. I'm sorry folks, I had advised folks that I was not terribly as well prepared for this as I wanted to be, but just showing you here. So now when we click on Nina, no, nope, it's not attached to her. So the record that we had, a file that I had attached in membership for her, is not available in donations for her record as well. We are on the individual givers tab. That does not appear to be something which is available there. So if I did want to attach it to the record for her in donations, I would have to come in here, click add a file, and I could attach that there. But that's an interesting thing. I might need to bring that to my developer's attention and find out if there's a logic behind that. Why the records, if it's a membership record, why is that file unavailable to us in the donations module if it's entered there and if it's the same individual? But that's another question for a later time. But the functionality is the same. If I want to attach the same file to Nina's record in donations, I have to click Add File, Test File 1 or 6, whichever one I did. I think I did 1 in there, and click OK. Now notice if we go up there, let me resort it again. Yeah, Files and Documents now is again bold, and I again have to do the Extract Files here under the Files and Documents folder, or Files and Documents tab, to be able to extract that file if I want to save that somewhere, or delete it similarly, to highlight the file and click Delete. Now, it's again, folks, you can have multiple files associated with one record. If I want to go in here and do add a file, and I want to do, say file 2, and I click open, I can have multiple files associated with the record. And this is where we're starting to kind of shift into accounting in a little bit, is maybe you have some invoices from vendors that you want to attach to verify that they were paid. So you can attach, it's a bill you pay monthly. You might want to scan and attach each invoice to the there, and so they'll have 12 attachments to a particular account in accounting. Okay, but it doesn't matter whether the record is a donations giver or a membership giver. You can attach them to any type of giver that's set up here, and you also have the option under the Families and Groups tab as well. Okay, but if we notice here again, the functionality is exactly the same. Question on the questions is coming up is where are the files saved? They're saved in the actual data files in the data folder. So these files get backed up with your data backups that you make for Church Windows as well. So it has the potential of certainly adding some size to your backup files, folks, okay, if you take advantage of this. Let's jump into accounting here real quick and show you how this works here. Because how this works in accounting now is if I go into any transaction, it's going to allow me to associate a document, okay? But the important thing to keep in mind about this is this function is these are associated with the accounts, not the transaction per se. It's tied to the account, not to the transaction. Because the transaction has accounts, that's where those become available to you, but it's really the account that they're attached to. So what we're talking about here is, so if I go in and I enter a bill and I do, AT&T, say, and notice right here to the right of the little down arrow, I've got the little paperclip icon. There's my managed files and documents associated with this account, say transaction. And I say transaction loosely because it really is, to me, cleaner and more associated with the account than the transaction. Yes, the report is, or the file is attached to the transaction, but it's more easily extracted in my thinking when I browse through the account. And I'll show you where that is in a minute. So, and I can choose which one of the accounts I associate that with, okay? So if I go, okay, I want to associate my, say, test file 3 with AT&T, okay, and then I go down here and I choose telephone. Now again, I don't know why this would make sense to do this way, but we notice we've got the little paperclip icon to the right here for this next to my line item comments. I can perhaps choose, add a file, and I can choose test file 5 for the expense account, okay? So you can potentially have two different documents attached to two different accounts in the same transaction, okay? So notice here that under the little paperclip changes to green when there's a document attached here. Okay, so we click on that one's 5, and this one is 3. Oh, and I got to enter an amount. So let's put in there, and we notice now that the amount is complete with the expense. The little paperclip icon turns green for the expense account as well. Okay, so now I could do done add to batch, and I could do post or post and pay these bills. Nah, I'm not going to print the transaction. And we can even go so far as to associate the transaction, again, with the documents with either the checking account, in this case, my asset, or the vendor. Now, I've already got it associated with AT&T and the vendor with the bill. But if it's not, if I want that same transaction or that same file to be associated with the payment, I would have to go right here under the AT&T, add the file, and I'd have to choose test file 3 again if I want that to be available for both the bill transaction and the payment, okay? Two different transactions, but if I want the document to be attached to both, I have to choose it twice, okay? And so I could do computer check, enter my payment method, and either do post or post and print checks like I would normally. And again, notice the little paper clip icon has now changed to a green color to indicate that there's a document attached to that, okay, or a file attached to it. And again, folks, I'm just using PDF documents. I believe you could attach anything to any one of these transactions or using this function. So I could do either post or post and print checks if I'm ready to print, okay? So now, if I go now into, say, manage accounts, and this is where, again, it could become important in terms of how you manage these. If I go to my telephone expense, notice files and documents is bold. So right here, I've got test PDF file. But as I attach different, say, invoices or documents to these accounts, there could be a number of files in here that are attached. Okay, so like I said, if you're backing up your data regularly, if you begin to use this function and attach, say, invoices every month to each one of your bills, this could really add some size to your backup files. Okay, Church Windows doesn't care. Okay, but I'm just saying you might need to come in here periodically and purge these. And these are year specific too. So when I open up 2023, these files are only associated with the transactions in the years that they're associated with. They're not going to continue to show up as attached to the files to the accounts in 2023. Okay, so let's go up to make sure we go to AT&T, choose AT&T, go to it's there. Now here, see, we do have both of them attached from the vendor for both the bill and the payment. So that tells us something, again, that we may not need to attach it to the vendor under the payment transaction if we've attached it to the bill because we've added it under one side. So maybe we only need it to add it or attach it to the bill, not the payment. That's good to know. So I would go, oh, I don't need to add this in here. I highlight it, click delete selected files. Are you sure you wish to delete it? Click yes. It's now down to just one. Okay. So again, folks, it's just a way of being able to maintain and keep records in association with areas or parts of church windows and databases in church windows that the folks at the church deem is important. Okay, there's no requirement to use this function in the software. It is just another option feature that church windows brings to our users that our customers and users have been asking us to add for a long time, and it is now available in the software.